Welcome to another episode of the Flashback Cartoon Hour. I'm your loving bald host with the most from coast to coast, Nick Barbaric Lascola. And today we have the grand return of my fellow creator of the Plug and Nug Radio Podcast Network, Mr. Andrew.
Yes, Andrew Savage Napier.
I love it, and you're definitely a savage. Today we are covering the animated series The Savage Dragon.
Chicago. A criminal mastermind called Overlord held our city in his terrifying grip. Ordinary cops were losing the battle against Overlord's super freaks and mutants. Then, a miracle happened. When I found him, he had no memory of his past. I helped him find an identity and a life. Now we have a fighting chance. Now we have the dragon.
I figured we could start off, Andrew, with maybe just kind of going into what the Savage Dragon is. I know that you're actually into the comic books, and I'm not so into the comic books. I got more into the TV show. But my own really personal experience with the Savage Dragon is when he crossed over with the Ninja Turtles, which I've showed you that issue I have.
The issue number 2. Oh no, because there's it continues in a different crossover. They have like 2 or 3 crossovers in their first 2 years together.
I think mine was a reprinting of issue 2 though, where they fight the gargoyle thing. Yes, and then when you flip it upside down,
it's Vanguard Zero. Yeah,
exactly. You got it.
That's not a reprint. That's the original. It just happens to also be Vanguard Zero on the back.
Oh, it was always like that. Wow.
Yeah, this is how they do that. It's because it's only a preview. So the Vanguard Zero issue is only like 4 pages, I think.
Yeah, it's not much.
Kind of sucks too. I'm not a fan of Vanguard.
But
before you go too far too, I don't want to say I'm a fan of the Savage Dragon comics. I'm a fan of the very early Savage Dragon comics. I have the first 13 of the main series
before they got very, very horny.
Yeah, I mean it was already horny, but the issue 20 I think is the breaking point where everything just gets a little bit too much. Yeah. So I'm good with my 1 through 13. I'm just gonna pretend it ended there and was like a fun thing in the 90s that never kept going.
Right. Okay, so let's get into it. The Savage Dragon is an American animated action adventure television series based on the Image Comics series of the same name, created by Erik Larsen. The series ran on the USA Network from October 21st, 1995 to December 18th, 1996 for a total of 2 seasons and 26 episodes in total. Each episode ran for about 22 minutes long. Savage Dragon was an original creative program that ran as a part of the USA Network's programming block, USA Action Extreme Team. The series ran along other original programs created for the block, such as Exo Squad, which ran from 1995 to 1996, The Savage Dragon, like we just said, which ran from 95 to 98, Street Fighter ran from 95 to 98, Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm 96 to 98, and Wing Commander Academy 96 to 98 also.
So why did they all close or stop or cancel, whatever the word I'm looking for is, in 98?
I think they sold.
Cartoon Network was founded and started blowing them the fuck out of the water.
Yes, dude, you're so smart. You're such a
and they were just like, well, all right, let's cut this out.
There was a reason, though.
Clearly futile at this point. They were already competing with Nickelodeon and Fox Kids, and even Fox Kids had more stuff than USA Network. I mean, this is a shitty lineup.
Well, this is just the original lineup. I can tell you right now all the shows, because they started off with so they acquired programs after. Sure. They ended up acquiring The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Highlander the animated series, Sonic Hedgehog Sat AM. That was like the darker version of Sonic the Hedgehog. There's 3 that Jaleel White voices all of like Sonic and every one of them. but the first one was like known as a very goofy, silly slapstick kind of thing, and the
Yeah.
second one was like an actual like Sonic part of like a freedom force fighting the evil like maniacal Dr. Robotnik. So continuing, they also got the rights to Superman, Batman Adventures,
Oh, those are
Wildcats,
huge.
The Adventures of Super Mario Brothers 3, a show called Double Dragon, not to be mistaken for this show, a show called Mighty Max, Super Mario World, Street Sharks, the Super Mario Bros. Super
Street
Show.
Sharks is a spin-off, right, of this?
No, no, no.
But that's Mako is from Street is like in Street
No,
Sharks.
no, I know what you're referencing, and that was a joke. There is a character. There is a character. I mean, they're all different forms of sharks in Street Sharks, but Street Sharks was essentially like 5 people that got kidnapped, experimented on, and became like humanoid sharks just to compete with the Ninja Turtles.
That's right.
They also have the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, like I said, Ultra Force, and Sailor Moon. Ultra Force was another superhero team, but it was originally a comic company called Malibu Comics. And Marvel eventually will buy the rights to them, so it doesn't really matter. But it's just funny
Marvel
that
bought Malibu?
Yeah.
That's so funny because I was just reading the like miniseries, or I was flipping through it. I didn't actually read it, but the miniseries 1 through 3 is produced by Malibu.
Oh, really?
Like, that's where it was originally printed. The first 3 issues of Savage Dragon.
Before Image, ever even before Larsen left.
Technically not before Image, because it is Image, but you like literally it's weird. It says Image on the cover, but then you open it up and it says Image Comics and Malibu Comics. So it's like I heard what happened was basically Image Comics formed and started, but they didn't have any physical like ability to print comics. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they had to find a distributor, they had to find people to work with. So they decided to work with Malibu Comics, like most of them, while they were getting started, before they like actually opened their own like production studios and like print shops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the first Savage Dragon issues are produced under Malibu Comics and Image Comics.
Wow. As like a dual thing, or do they just state Image? Because
let me read the blurb right here. This is literally from the publishing like comments in the inside cover page. It says Savage Dragon #1, July 1992, first printing, and Image Comics titled, published by Malibu Comics. Yeah.
I feel like I've heard Malibu before.
They've done a lot of things. They did Gru, or at least some Gru stuff.
Oh, Nightman, that's it.
Nightman.
Yeah, and Men in Black. Oh, wow.
I know they've had a couple of hits. I want to say Destroyer Duck was Malibu, but it might have been Destroyer Duck's Eclipse. But Eclipse and Malibu were the 2 big like indie guys before Image.
Yeah. I knew more about Eclipse than I did Malibu.
Yeah, Malibu's got some hits. Malibu, the first technically Spawn issue is Malibu. Not the first appearance of Spawn is on a like cover of like a Malibu newsletter cover that they it's a very sought after by like Spawn fans, like super fans of Todd McFarlane, because it was the first time they printed a picture of Spawn. Like,
yeah, wow.
It was within a Malibu like preview comic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Apparently right after the I'm sort of looking up as we go here, and I'm on Wikipedia. This whole Action Express, whatever it's called, the whole like block comes right after a another block that they had before it. They called sister networks apparently on Wikipedia, which I don't think is accurate, but basically they had a kids programming block before the USA Action Extreme team, and it was pretty clear that they were trying to chase like the
hype. Yeah, well, it's funny.
Hype of, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and like the whole comics boom and everything that happened in the 90s. They were like, let's jump onto this stuff, and they just clearly weren't with it. But even so it was called the USA Cartoon Express was what was on before that.
Oh
And it
yeah,
was
yeah,
the
yes. I did read
Hanna-Barbera
about the.
rerun.
Yep,
There's like
a
Johnny
lot of them.
Quest and the Addams Family
Yeah,
apparently.
but because it was all
Yes.
before what's his name? Time Warner bought what the
Hanna-Barbera.
yeah, and brought it over to Cartoon Network because when
Yeah.
you think of early Cartoon Network, like when
True.
we were kids, you know what I mean? They still had all those Yogi Bears and Flintstones and Scooby Doo's playing on Cartoon Network, really before like the later 90s when they started coming out with their own cartoons like Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Ed and Eddie, Johnny Bravo, all that.
So I don't know how many of these were actually on that were actually original to USA, but these I'm gonna list a whole bunch of them that were on here that are really interesting. The Great Space Coaster. Have you heard that one?
Are you talking? You're talking about Express before the action team is what you're
Yeah,
listing
this is
off right now.
before it.
Okay, all right,
This is
go.
before it, yeah. Have you heard of the Great Space Coaster?
No.
Probably one of the best theme songs in cartoon history. I've never even seen the show, but I've heard the theme song so many times from people referencing it. That's 86 to 87. And then there's Dragon's Lair ran until 1992. It looks kind of funny. It's just straight up kids TV, but it's apparently also based on a video game. Dragon's Lair was a video game. Remember that?
I know Dragon Quest, right? That's the one where you choose like.
There was a 1983 video game, Dragon's Lair. I can't really remember it, but if you look at the art for it, you'll be like, oh yeah. But they made a TV show of that, so apparently they have a history of video games turned into
Oh yeah,
TV.
yeah. This is what I was. This is what I thought it was. Dragon Quest. I've played the video game.
They had Captain N, which you just did an episode on, right?
Yeah. A few
And
episodes ago, but yep.
the Superman Batman Adventures are also technically part of the USA Cartoon USA. What is it?
Oh, so it made its
USA
way
Cartoon
over.
Express.
Yeah.
So there were like two different blocks running at the same time at one point, where like one was like the serious one and one was the really little kids one.
Yeah, and this one
But I
was
feel
the
like the little
action.
kids one, I recognize a lot of these more.
Yeah, well, probably at the time, that's what you were watching.
No, for sure. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe was on there. They had Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids.
Yes.
G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, Voltron.
Oh, so they actually had some bangers. I was pretty worried when you started listing those first ones off.
Yeah, they had some really good ones. They also had Mr. T running from 1987 to 1988.
Yeah, I know that one. That's another one that's kind of like
Steve Gerber. I just clicked on that. The creator. What? The Mr. T animated series is created by Steve Gerber.
For our listeners, Andrew is a huge Howard the Duck fan. Would I be wrong to say your favorite comic book character of all time?
No, and I like the way that you formed it because like if you tried to say my favorite superhero, I'm like, well, he's not a superhero.
Oh yeah, no, trust me, I know, I knew you very well. It's like, let me say, how am I phrasing this that he's not gonna jump on it? But all right, well, hold on. So let's get back to Dragon for a second. So, like you had been stating,
quite a tangent we got on. I'm sorry, I didn't.
It's okay, ADHD, baby.
That's a mess, baby.
That's a mess, baby.
Oh god.
The for our listeners that don't know, I'm actually wearing a MS hat. Support people with MS. MS. Okay, so like you had stated earlier, due to the massive success of both the Batman the Animated Series, which we just did an episode about, me and Santi, guys, go check that out.
I feel like more than anything, the success of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is what made all of this happen. All of it.
Oh, absolutely. Which is funny because Erik Larsen is really good friends with Eastman and Laird, which me and you had just been talking about before we started the recording.
Yeah, and I find it funny that Eastman and Laird are from around here. Like they're from New Hampshire, pretty sure.
Yeah.
Southampton.
We're based in Mass for people that don't know. Yes, I'm gonna actually, Andrew, I'm gonna about to give your precise location. All right.
Sounds good.
No, so they wanted to jump off the success of Batman the Animated Series and the X-Men because both were super, super popular. They decided to create a programming block, like we said, for kids, specifically action-orientated animated cartoons. And they wanted to kind of jump in on that superhero craze with Batman, Superman, as I said. They decide to hit up Erik Larsen and they're like, hey, you guys are Image, you're like this new thing, let's try and hit you up. It's probably less as expensive as hitting up a Marvel or DC. You know? So the series ends up being co-produced by Universal Cartoon Studio, P3 Entertainment, and Lacewood Productions for season 1, and Studio B Productions for season 2. And like the animation difference is pretty prominent. There's one thing about this show, I don't want to call it rough to get through, but it's a little rough. It's a little rough around the
Got some
edges.
sharp edges.
In fact, Andrew, what we usually do is give each cartoon that we review a letter grade from F to A plus. What would you give this show?
I want to say a C, but I think I'm gonna go with D for Dragon because it drags on.
That is amazing. Yeah, well, I mean, god damn it, now I feel like I have to give it a D, but I want to give it a C, like a solid C. It's not, in fact, as Erik Larsen himself famously quoted for saying, it's not awesome and not awful. It is like the most average TV series, but when you think about the block that we were just talking about and the kids that they're trying to specifically target, it's like
just a stupid cash grab. It's so see-through that it just like feels like.
But like as a kid, I definitely would have watched this show as a kid.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean?
Know if I would have, because I would have been annoyed that there wasn't any continuity, and like I would have been annoyed that I couldn't like follow what was happening in an episode sometimes. Like sometimes during the episode, you're like, wait, what happened?
Because at least with like Batman, and that was the thing, right? Is that's where this show ended up failing, and that's why it only lasted 2 seasons. Whereas when you think of Batman the Animated Series, and I mean, well, technically that only lasted 3 seasons, but it has such more of a cult following.
Yeah, because they took it seriously.
Very seriously. The writing is so dramatic. It really like they created characters specifically. They changed people. What they did to Mr. Freeze is like unbelievable. When you can create something for a cartoon that changes the comic book for like the rest of eternity, like that's like, when it's a big deal. And I feel like this show added nothing. Like it didn't bring anything, didn't add new characters.
I don't think it subtracted. Like there are people who were interested in Savage Dragon and then saw the cartoon and were like, no, I don't believe that.
Fun fact, did you know the show Malcolm in the Middle? With Frankie Muniz?
Yes.
I found out in my research that actually in the pilot episode of Malcolm in the Middle, Savage Dragon is playing on their TV.
Oh, really?
That's so isn't that a cool little fun fact?
I just found out that in issue 3 of Savage Dragon, because I just cracked the cover of it, The Simpsons is on the TV in the background.
Literally, one of the greatest cartoons of all time.
Like our universe, or at least they have Simpsons in their universe.
Yeah,
because he says it was a stupid line too. It's Flanders and Homer on the screen, and Flanders just says, "Simpson, I can see your doodle," and he just goes, "Don't!" Like that's the whole scene. And they're
honest. He should be embarrassed. Jesus, how dare he show his doodle around?
I can see your doodle. Like I can just hear Flanders saying it. That's what made me laugh.
I feel like we've been talking a little shit about Savage Dragon, but where we've talked about the negative for the animated series is, why don't you tell us some positives of the series? What would you?
I would love to.
Yeah, please.
One thing that I think they really hit the nail on the head and did a really great job on was the like flow of an episode.
Yeah,
it can be choppy at times, but there were like it really followed the flow of a Savage Dragon comic. Especially the first 3 issues, like the miniseries. It follows a very strict formula, and I don't know if he did this on purpose, like he just discovered that this was a fun way to write a comic and like just kept doing it, or like he says he writes comics like he doesn't even do like a layout or a like a plan. He just starts drawing. Like
Mhm.
he's like, I just start drawing, and then when the story's over, it's over. You know what I mean? Which
Yeah.
must be a crazy way to do it, because it's, when you're standardizing things for comic books, it's like you have to do 22 pages, you have to do like, or 20 to 23, like something around about, you
Yeah,
can't
it's
just,
weird. It's like, I mean, I've, definitely who hasn't gotten high, started sketching shit out, and like, you start random just doodling at some point, but like this is your job, and
yeah,
like you have to have
professional comic book artist
yeah.
doesn't do any layouts. I'm like, you don't do any layouts, you don't, it's just strange to me. And yet it feels so formulaic. So I'm
Mhm,
like, how did you just like bullshit this formula? That does work. It works. It works on me at least, because it's so
mhm,
fun. The first page, you're in the middle of a fight. The
mhm.
middle of one. It's usually towards the end. And you're introduced to this like really scary evil character that like is immediately set up as scary, evil, powerful, and like just bad. Just everything about him bad. And then Savage Dragon, and he's already half beaten up, and then like just finishes the fight, kills everyone, and like arrests them, drags them away. And then there's like the press talking to him and snapping pictures and like some stupid shit like that. And then we're into the story. Like now we can actually start telling a story. And
Yeah.
like the middle half of the comic book is the story, and then at the end there's another fight.
So how does that um come across in the show, do you
Well,
feel?
literally episode 1 of the show starts off there in the middle of the fight.
Oh, true.
So,
True.
with some
That's
bad guy.
right. Yep.
Yeah, and he gets arrested, and they move on, and they're just, now we're in Savage Dragon world. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's how it happens in issue 1. They're just in the middle of it. They jump into this universe that already existed, and they're like, you better catch up, reader.
come on, where have
That's
you
it.
been, dude? Like just
Yeah,
jump in.
exactly.
And you're like, well, fuck
Like
me,
flip
I
back
guess
on the page, you're like, this says number 1, right? Okay.
yeah,
And
that's
they like sort of fill things in as they go along, and it's a wonderful formula, and it works really well when it's pulled off well. And I think Erik Larsen pulls it off well in his comic book. I don't think they pull it off as good in the TV show, but at least they sort of like follow it, because it's definitely established as a thing.
yeah. Yeah,
Whether it's on purpose or not, it's happening.
and I feel like we had said with Batman and X-Men, it's that continuity, right? There's those stories that drag out into another story. And I
That's
wish
what
that
comics is all about. And then
like
you
this dragon show, I wish they would have done, at least like thrown in a couple of two-parters for us, where it's like literally most of these episodes they happen, but you can watch them in any order except like maybe a couple of 2 or 3, like the first episode she dragons brought in, or the first episode that barbarics dragged in, because then they just continuously show up in different episodes and you're like, oh, who the fuck's this big giant red dude, and
yeah,
he's like walking up, and but oh man, I love his voice actor, Barbaric's voice actor.
he's got a good voice actor. Him, I like. I like everything about his character on the show. They nailed a lot of the characters, but one of the biggest faults
Yeah.
of the show is they do not at all nail Dragon. Like, he's not right.
Oof. See, I have to, it's okay to disagree, but I love Jim Cummings so much.
Yeah, I don't really have any personal connection with him like that.
Mhm.
And just after reading the comics, like, he's very no nonsense in the comics, and Jim Cummings doesn't deliver that at all with the dialogue, like
Yeah,
at all.
if you watch, are you caught up in the Marvel MCU, or
Totally caught up.
you've watched up to at least
Endgame.
Endgame? Yeah.
Yeah,
So you know who Korg is then?
Korg.
Yeah, the rock dude that Thor meets.
Quark. I'm hearing you wrong. Yeah, I thought his name was Quark.
No,
Quark.
no. Korg, Korg. Hold on, ready? We're still sharing the screen. I'm gonna show you right now.
Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about the same guy. I thought his name was Quark.
No, Korg. So in the
He looks
comic,
totally different in the comics. I don't like the comics version of him, or I don't like that comics version of him. but I know of a very similar character from Spider-Man and the X-Men, who I'm trying to think of who that guy is.
Yeah, no. So in the comic books, he got introduced on World War Hulk. Well, actually,
Okay.
Planet Hulk. He got introduced.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
part of his team. Hulk brought him with him to Earth to like beat the shit out of the Avengers. So
Mhm.
like I read all that and I'm like super hyped. I like heard he's gonna be in the movie, or I don't even think I saw that he was going to be in the movie. He just like showed up and he didn't speak yet. So I'm like, I'm like, oh my God, this is kind of like the Hulk's right hand man. Like this dude, like, you know, this dude's about to fuck shit up. And he walks up and he goes, hey, hi, I'm Cork. How's it going? And I remember just sitting there like, what the fuck? Like I expected some dude walking up and be like, hey, how's it going? You're going to be my new best friend, my new master.
Fair enough. That's
But
why I like Korg. I actually am a huge fan of him in the movie.
I will give it to you that it took me a while. Like it took me, I mean, by the end of the movie, I thought he was hilarious. But like that first initial, like hearing him and not expecting what you read from the comic book is what I was paralleling to your Savage Dragon and Jim Cummings. It's
No,
just
for sure.
not the voice you heard in your head.
Yeah, it's so frustrating when that happens because it's like, well, yeah, obviously it's not the voice I heard in my head, but
Probably from now on, anytime I do read the Savage Dragon, it's the only voice I'm gonna hear in my head.
fair enough. You know, Erik Larsen, I didn't see where it said it. We heard in that podcast that he also doesn't like the voice. I wonder if it's because of the like he puts so much emphasis in every single word. Like he just like really hangs on everything, and it's so not how I imagine Savage Dragon talking. And it's like the tone of it, not even so much of like his actual voice.
I'm gonna play a voice clip of Savage Dragon talking right here.
So what kind of choice does a freak have, right? Well, I chose to be a cop, and in case you haven't noticed, I'm not exactly John Q. Human.
Yeah, that film does kind of give you away.
The voice of the Tasmanian Devil since '91. He was Fat Cat, the enemy on Chippendale's Rescue Ranger. He was Darkwing Duck, and he played Dr. Robotnik on the Sonic the Hedgehog animated series. The one that I was telling you about, that with the dark voice. He also played Ka on Jungle Cubs, and just to blow your mind, Andrew, he played Cat on Cat Dog.
Oh, that's why I don't like him. How is Cat gonna be fucking Savage Dragon? Like that is literally why I don't like him. Because the fact about it is that he is acting it as if it's the same character.
Yeah,
he's Jim Cummings being Jim Cummings, and that's totally fine. But the fact that like Cat and Savage Dragon cannot be the same character. Like you're a bad actor. I'm sorry.
I don't want to hurt you.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah, I said
hold on. You relax. You jump. Jim Cummings, you're an amazing person, and you don't let this guy right here bully you.
I'm sure you're an amazing person. I love you. You're a good dude. Bad actor.
Ew.
He's one of those guys that can only be himself, I feel like.
Okay, so to go into some of the other characters, other voice actors and actresses on the series, we're going to start off with She-Dragon, who is voiced by Jennifer Hale.
Well, excuse me! If you'd let me work with you in the first place, this never would have happened.
Who is known for roles in such shows as the Powerpuff Girls, Codename Kid Next Door, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Brandy and Mr. Whiskers, Totally Spies, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Damn. Also known as Jennifer Hale. Yeah.
We have Jeff Glenn Bennett, who played Barbaric.
You wanted him destroyed? Well, here he is. I did my part. Now let my sister go.
Mako the Shark and Sergeant Howard Neisman. In case I don't know if you watched it. How many episodes did you get through?
I think I got through like 4 or 5. I do want to watch a couple more, but I loved That was episode 2.
Which one? Oh, Horde.
He was introduced in episode 2.
Yeah. He comes back quite a few. Oh, like they all kind of cycle through a few times. Horde and they have another character named the Fiend, who I'll go into in a second.
Horridus in the TV show.
How do they defeat him?
Introduce Horridus. She's an ally, right?
No.
Who am I thinking of then? The Rocky girl, right?
No, Horde is a like he's made up of all bugs. And
oh yeah, not it's. I think it's the mic maybe Horridus.
Oh yeah, I said Horde, Horde. He's a character in the TV show.
Oh, so they don't bring in the person I'm talking about then?
No,
okay.
No, they bring in Horde as a villain. Horde is essentially one of those, they have them in like a ton of the superhero TV shows. A guy made up of all bugs. He essentially sends leeches out, and the leeches latch on to different people and then like control them.
Because I was gonna say, introduced throughout like the first, it's sort of a cliffhanger throughout the first couple issues. Like it's a background story, like a B story they call it.
Yeah.
Like in like they'll just cut to it for like 3 pages, and then they'll go back to the main story. But it's the introduction of a character named Horridus, Horridus.
Yeah.
And she's like, basically the whole backstory is creepy as fuck. They just cut to this like abandoned house in the middle of like Midwestern United States, and the parents are like in the kitchen with a gun, and they're both dead, and then there's just a gun sitting there, and then the basement door is open, and then that's just like, that's it. They just show you that scene and then cut back to Savage Dragon, and you're like, the fuck? And then the next issue they go back to it again, and then like they show more details or whatever, and like they did it for like 3 or 4 issues, and then eventually introduced that in the basement, like a bunch of cops show up at the house because someone reported like a smell or something like that.
Is it in Chicago?
Yeah, it must be like a suburb. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So all the cops show up, not Dragon though. Like Dragon's not there, and they find this girl in the basement, and she like, I guess, transformed into a super freak like randomly. Like she was normal until like a week ago, and now she's like a giant orange, like she's practically like the Thing, but she has a tail and like spikes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she's like a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden she's an orphan, and she becomes like Dragon's responsibility.
Does he adopt her?
You're a super freak. She's a super freak. Figure it out.
You're a super freak. Super freak. Super freaky. Yeah, there was no way I wasn't not gonna do that during this episode.
What we should way that wasn't a coincidence, because Erik Larsen is also a super freak.
Yeah. Well, what the listeners should know is that in this comic and in this TV show, they obviously, so Marvel has the rights to the word mutant, and so other people aren't really allowed to use the word mutant without like at least paying something that way. So they had to come up with their own unique term of people that have special abilities or look different or weird, aren't like normal humans. So they came up with freaks. And the funny thing is though, like super freaks.
They'll often just call them freaks, you're right, but it's specifically super freaks on several occasions, and I just find it so funny.
So like there's a real like prejudice, I will say, against the freaks, right? They want to really tap in onto what the X-Men the animated series was digging into, with the whole like humans hating them and trying to stop this big giant like war between the two factions happening. That's why Dragon's on the force. But it's funny because Dragon seems like he's one of the most racist next to what's his name, Niceman. He's always like,
you're a freak, you
fuck.
should be a cop or get the hell out.
He's like, fuck you freaks the fucking weird dude. Like, oh, none of us watch you on the force. Get off the force, you're a freak. Dragon, like, to everyone that's not a cop, that's a freak. He's like,
of which there's none. As far as there becomes a few at a point, and then they all quit.
Yeah. Oh, what, in the comics? Yeah. I think like She-Dragon was supposed to become a cop in one of the episodes.
Oh yeah.
She wanted to go on like a ride along and everything. She wanted to become the cop, but
I just like, read you an excerpt from the issue where she's introduced in the comics. And
before we started recording.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she is threatened by Dragon within like 5 minutes, being like, "I will shoot you."
Yeah,
Like
or shoot them
he
if they
does
move.
not care.
All right, so I was in the middle of the voice
Yeah,
actor.
Jennifer, hell yeah, my bad.
Jennifer, hell
Who,
yeah.
who's the next one?
Let's go into the Shredder ripoff himself. We'll go into Overlord. He's like a mix between like the Shredder and like Iron Man.
Mix between the Shredder and the Shredder.
He's really just kind of that like Team Rocket rats foiled again kind of thing.
Yeah, for
Except
sure.
like they try and make it so that like he's in the background, but then not, because like he still shows up, and every few episodes Dragon might run into him where they might have a scuffle.
That's totally just the TV show too, though.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's not the comics.
So he's voiced by Tony J.
Now, how do you think Big Brother would feel if he came back and you were gone, huh? Well, of course, if he doesn't come back with Dragon, you will be gone for good.
In the movie, he was also Claude Frollo in Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame. He was the main villain in a TV series that I remember back in like the late 90s, early 2000s called Reboot. A very, very similar voice to what he does with Overlord now in this show. Let's go into we have Danny Mann as the Fiend / Open Face. We have the ever lovable Rob Paulson as John Backwood, and he also played Octopus. Open Face is like they're like partners, but not like one's kind of
Friends.
more. Yeah.
I
Like
did
they
see
yell at
the
each
whole-
other and stuff.
That was the funniest thing of the whole. Anything I've seen was I saw that episode issue. Like, what is it, episode 3? I love them bickering at each other. It was so funny.
Absolutely ingenious. An interactive array of magnetic nickel pillars creating a data storage system 1 billion times faster than any known computer chip.
Big deal. It's all rather obvious, really.
Obvious? Ha! I don't see you making breakthrough discoveries in quantum magnetics.
You don't see me wearing a grass skirt and dancing a hula either.
Yeah.
Open Face, and especially with Rob Paulson.
There's
that
an
should have been
episode
the show.
there's an episode that I'm going to talk about a little bit later, and they do something for Arachnid, which ends up being one of the better episodes of the entire series.
Can I just point out all the specifically Spider-Man analogs there are?
Let me just say who voices Arachnid, and then you jump right into that. Arachnid, and also the villain Basher, who's also in the Vicious Circle. That's Overlord's like main group of bad freaks that work for him. Both of them are voiced by the one and only, not a stranger to this show, Mr. Frank Welker.
Dragon, do this to me, destroy Dragon.
That's awesome.
Just to go into, all right, so yeah, you go into what you were going to say about the parallel of Arachnid and Spider-Man.
Yeah, so obviously there's that's a 1-to-1. Arachnid is Spider-Man. Yeah, here's my play on Spider-Man. He's actually a spider, and he's a big fat lazy dude. You know what I mean? And then there was I always want to call him Reed Richards. It's not that bad, but he's R. Richards, isn't it? Is it R. Richards?
Yeah, I think it is R. Richardson. Was it Richard
just
Richardson?
Richards. I thought it was funny because it's like the initials for Reed Richards. I'm like, it's kind of weird. He's the ripoff of J. Jonah Jameson. It's like a direct 1-to-1. He's the crazy news guy who like is constantly trying to put Dragon down in the news and say that he's like a bad person when really he's doing good. And then there's
because again, most freaks are villains.
Yeah.
Literally.
It's just, but he's an actual fucking octopus. Like, it's just so stupid and funny. I love everyone.
Still a scientist too. Still wears like a lab coat and everything.
Yeah, has everything else about him except he's an actual octopus.
Some extra voices, additional voices that voice different characters in the show. We have Michael Dorn as the Warrior King. I'm going to go into him in a second, so just remember Warrior King, guys. We have Dave Collier as Gilroy. Andrew, you would know him as Joey from Full House.
Yeah, Uncle Joey. Dave
Uncle
Cool.
Joey.
Yeah.
And also Mark Hamill lent his voice to this series too.
Great voice cast. I can't deny that.
It's like the one thing that carried this show was the voice cast. The chemistry.
I would recast Jim Cummings into another role, but
debatable, but I respect your opinion. Just when like you hear their banter, their back and forths, especially between characters like Dragon and Alex.
Remember me?
Hey, remember me? How could you go on a date with a convicted felon?
He served his time, Dragon. Now he just wants to contribute to society.
You call that crummy TV show of his contributing to society? The sets are cheesy, the acting's ridiculous.
Like I said, I happen to like his show, so do a lot of other people.
You know what? I don't even think that's his own nose. I bet he had one of those.
Just drop it, okay? I'm going to the ball with him, and that's that.
Kath Susie, Soucie, am I off? She voiced Alex Wilde. Alex Wilde is Savage Dragon's partner. They kind of have throughout the series this like lovey undertone, but like they don't really ever like do anything, or you know what I mean. They have like this will they won't they, but like they never like bang or anything. They never really kind of bring it up. More than like subtle jealousy. If like a girl's talking to Dragon, of course Alex has like something to say about it, like some snide remark.
Apparently they also did have a like short-lived friends with benefits moment in the comics
that I did find out about. Yes, I did find out about that. This was like the closest they ever got was like there was a policeman's ball and Dragon was gonna bring Alex, and then something happened and he had to go with somebody else, and then Alex had to go with somebody else who was like a freak that was pretending to be a super. It was like this whole big thing, and it was kind of like like I'm gonna make you jealous, I'm gonna make you jealous. Like that was
they did this very like behind the what's it called, I'm sorry to cut you off, I didn't mean to.
No, that's fine.
They did this very like behind the like in between panels sort of story in Savage Dragon the comics where like I didn't, you don't see their relationship and you don't see any of what actually happens. You just hear about it in past tense, and it's like since he woke up though, so like they skip a few years, it seems like, from like they show you the origin and then they're like all of a sudden now we're in the middle of it, you know what I mean?
Which is
so
very
they're filling in
different from the show if you think about it, because like the show really kind of, even in the theme song, like they established what happened. They found Dragon in the fire. Frank brings him in, like trains him to be a cop, and he's like, but now we have a fighting chance. And you're like, oh
yeah. So actually I don't think it is really different from the TV show, because they do tell the origin and then they just get right into it, but there must be like,
well, you said there's a couple of years, right? I guess you're right. Like Dragon's in the police force, like him and Alex are partners at this point, so I guess maybe
for a while,
at least a year, because like you have to remember how long is Academy, like how long would have Dragon have gone through police academy, or would he have just passed through it really fast because he's like a super hulking being?
I
they're like
want to see those issues. I want to know the logistics of what happens.
Like I want to know.
Tries to go to the police academy.
We're gonna police academy Dragon.
Oh my god! Yeah, like it should be a police academy movie, like with a Savage Dragon crossover.
It's just Dragon and what's his name, the guy that makes all the noises.
Oh no, Steve Gutenberg's got to be in it though. You can't leave him out.
Oh yeah, well you just like Gutenberg because of when we did what's it called? I'm with Johnny.
Short Circuit.
Short Circuit. I just want to say Johnny 5. Fucking, that's what it should have been called.
He's great though. You can't deny his fucking wonder. Like,
as we had talked about earlier, there is an extreme difference. Go ahead.
I was trying to say something about one of the things they did in the comic that was weird. It was a really good reason why Savage Dragon sort of always kept females at a distance, as Stan Lee would call them. he had this like in between that they revealed later on that apparently he had a girlfriend at one point, and just like randomly some super freak broke into their house and like murdered her while she was like away or something like that. And he got blamed by some people and stuff like that. And like it was all just a very messy situation. And obviously, like his girlfriend that he had feelings for died in that whole thing. So like every single woman that comes up to him, which is every single woman in the comic book, because they pointed this out in the podcast that we listened to too that I didn't realize before. But Erik Larsen draws himself as Savage Dragon. That's a self portrait. Have you seen a picture of him?
I have, but like,
look at it side by side. It is a self portrait. I'm like, wow, that really is. And then he draws throughout it that he is this super strong dude who gets every single lady in the room attracted to him. Because he is a super, super horny boy.
I wouldn't even like look at him, dude. He's not that muscly. He's just awkward looking, if anything.
His face is Savage Dragon's face. Yes, that's the face, dude.
I'm glad we're recording the video too, so if anyone ever saw that.
Yeah. Well, here I'll zoom in on the Savage Dragon face. So, yeah, right next to him.
Oh, that's the turtle one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Honestly, it's a great issue. So, what an ongoing joke that they have is every time he meets up with the turtles, he gets every one of them wrong every time. Like it's an ongoing, he'll look at like Michelangelo, and even after like being with them for like 3 other crossovers, he'll still be like, hey, Donatello, and they'll be like, I'm Mikey. He's like, oh yeah, Raphael. I'm Leo.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so
that first issue when they meet, that's actually an example of Savage the beginning of Savage Dragon issue starts with a fight that Savage Dragon easily wins. It's against the turtles in that issue. They come in, they try to beat him up, he easily wins, and now we start the story.
Whoa. It was a tie.
Oh no, he very easily won.
Very easily.
Because Erik Larsen wrote and drew it.
Yeah,
it's like his character.
Like there was no distinct winner, but it made it seem like that all 4 of them were gonna like have a rough go at fighting the dragon, because they're looking for the like giant gargoyle creature, and they're like, oh, this must be this must be the guy we're looking for. And then like none of their weapons worked on him at all, and so like when the swords and the bow staff break, they're kind of like and then immediately, lucky for them, the gargoyle attacks them. So they're like, oh, team up time.
For real.
So Andrew, next I figured we could talk about the crossover that happened. It was kind of like a soft crossover between all the current shows airing during the block.
I do remember you telling me about this, but I don't really remember I remember it, but I don't get it.
I'll explain. I'll go into it and I'll explain it. So the fans like to have dubbed this the saga of the Warrior King. It aired on Saturday, September 16th, 1996. It started with Street Fighter season 2, episode 9, The Warrior King. Then it went right into Savage Dragon season 2, episode 8, Endgame. Then it went into Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm, Season 1, Episode 9, Resurrection. And then it ended with Wing Commander Academy, Season 1, Episode 8, Recreation.
You know what this just is? That Marvel has been stealing from Image comic books forever, because, you know, Savage Dragon did Endgame before it was cool.
Yeah. Savage Dragon had the original Endgame. I thought the exact same thing. Marvel can't come up with anything anymore. Come on, guys.
1963.
Okay, so the Warrior King is voiced by Michael Dorn, who is well known as Lieutenant Worf on Star Trek The Next Generation. He is the so during these crossovers, none of these shows actually meet each other. It's really this one character, the Warrior King, who I'm going to go into in a second, jumping from like universe to universe, essentially. Let's go over the whole synopsis of the crossover for you, Andrew, and the listeners. Even evil dragon riding wizards have turned against the warrior's world, and a magic orb which sustains life is within their grasp. A mystic tries to persuade the warrior king that he must enter a portal through space and time and keep the orb safe until the mages withdraw or perish. The mages appear right at that moment and attack the warrior king, causing the orb to fall into the portal. The warrior king then goes after it, teleporting into the unknown. And that happens in the first episode with the Street Fighter. Um, and to each show he pops up, he does something different, and at like the end of every episode it's kind of like the orb gets away again. But I'll go into what his specific crossover with Savage Dragon was, the end game, which we had just mentioned. The villain, the Fiend, finds the orb and uses it to feed on anger and prey on the homeless. The Warrior King teams up with Dragon to defeat the Fiend, causing the orb to leave through yet another vortex, thus continuing the Warrior King's journey. The Warrior King is very much like a kind of like a Thor Asgardian looking kind of person.
And his like first and only appearance was in this.
Yeah, he was specifically created for this little crossover that happened.
It's funny because it's like barely a crossover. It's like they just invented a character. Like if it was one of these characters that crossed over through all the other shows, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just picture a world where like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat were together in a universe. Then you throw Savage Dragon in there. Like, I want to see Savage Dragon fight Ryu and Sub-Zero. Like, well, actually, I forget who the characters of the TV show are.
Even just Savage Dragon, like crossing through all those different universes. Like,
yeah, see, it should have been him, or have him and the Warrior team up and just go through all the universes together, holding hands. It was it's I've seen 2 of the episodes of this crossover. I've been meaning to get around to watching the other ones, but it's funny because Endgame, I wanted to like, just for the listeners, kind of recommend a few different episodes, and this was obviously going to be one of the ones I was going to recommend, just because of how important it was and how like it kind of does that little, it's almost like a letdown of a crossover. Cartoon Network ones did that too, where like they had some special event where like there was a meteor in the sky, and they really kind of like played it off like Billy and Mandy.
I remember that.
Yeah, Kids Next Door, Ed, Edd n Eddy, like they were all gonna cross over into this big thing, but none of that happened. I think it was like an alien invasion, and they all saw the meteor and stuff, but like each episode was like an alien theme, so it was kind of like that. It just a little bit of a letdown, but still good overall. I liked it. I liked the character. Just hearing Worf as like this warrior king dude, it fits. I like it. So if I was to recommend a couple of episodes, I would say start off with RSVP, the first episode. It's a good way to just jump into the universe, if you will.
I'd say just skip it and jump in right into number 2, to be honest with you. Because I like number 2, because I like Barbaric and his vibe. And the first
is that 2? I couldn't remember if it was 2 or 3.
2 was Barbaric. The second, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, right there. Yep.
1 was all right, but it feels like with episode 1, it almost felt like they were trying to take like the first 8 issues of the comic book and just be like, yeah, just
squish them all together.
Yeah. Into one in an episode.
All right. Dude, any of the Barbaric ones are good, honestly. I recommend episode 6 of season 1, She Dragon, because she's just a fun character. Season 2 really kind of had like, even with the animation, I just felt like the episodes were a little bit better.
I like how they redid the story of She Dragon, actually. I prefer that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because she's always been a bit lacking in the comic, and like a bit lacking agency, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just surprised that you would recommend the cartoon version to the comic book version.
Yeah, the comic book version is very, very clunky.
Yeah. Is it somewhat similar? Is she like still, is it, she has no relation to Dragon? Is like her dad still the
Yeah,
scientist?
no, they like, because I haven't gotten super far into it, but
Yeah.
as far as I know, she's just some random freak who comes in her introduction. They don't go into her backstory at all. They don't talk about her at all. She's just like some random person that showed up and annoyed Dragon, and Dragon's like, get the fuck out of here. That's all he does to anyone who wants to talk to him. But anyway,
He's
he's
such
like,
a prick
I'm
about it.
trying to solve crimes.
Yeah, dude. Even, I mean, he somewhat does it in this show, but like we talked about, he doesn't do it to an extent. Like
Yeah.
all these people just want to help him. Barbaric wants to help him. She Drag
Yeah.
wants to help him. He's like, no, stop trying to do things. You're just gonna fuck it all up.
He's
Just
like,
let me
I'm going
be.
to arrest you. Oh, and you know what? I think episode number 3 of season 1 was the one with Open Face and Octopus.
Yes, it
right?
was. Yes, it was.
Their bickering in the beginning of that episode is so fun. That was one of the best things about like my experience watching this.
Oh yeah, that's when Alex goes undercover. She pretends to be like a freak, right?
Yeah. Yes. What's her fake name? They actually do that in the comic book at one point.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
I can't remember what her fake name was.
Like Red Sparrow or something like that. She was like a bird. And they put like this big fake bird mask on her. Imagine trying that in real life.
And she got
Like a
away
bunch of
with it
actual
too.
bees.
Yeah, it's some of this is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
The episode Red Handed is a really good one. Dragon finally sends Overlord to prison, but is shocked when Barbaric breaks him free, and you find out that it's actually they're holding Barbaric's sister hostage, and he has to
Ricochet?
do
Is she in the show at all?
his sister. I think, yeah.
But you said they don't like show her powers at any point, or she doesn't have
No,
powers?
yeah, no, they don't.
That's so weird because she's a main character.
Yeah, I think they just, if I remember correctly, they just show her as like a teen girl.
She spins off into Freak Force, like with Barbaric.
Oh, does she?
Yeah, it's just crazy that they just like don't give her powers. Like what?
It's funny because I've had issues of Free Force. I've always seen this big hulking red guy on the front, and I just never knew who he was until we decided to give this show a shot.
My problem with the intro for Barbaric and really everything they did with that, because the issue of Savage Dragon where like it's the first appearance of Barbaric and his sister is my favorite issue. It's a great issue. He finds them like in the sewers, just like trying to live, and he tries to like basically like, I don't know if he's starting to arrest them or just like shines a light on them or what happens, and then they get into a fight and they start like trying to kill each other basically, and then Ricochet stops all of it and is like, guys, can we stop like killing each other? Like what's going on right now?
Yeah, what the fuck? Knock it off.
Yeah, she's literally just trying to get Barbaric to stop fighting back because she's like, cut it out, he's a cop, like what the hell.
Yeah.
So they all stop, and basically she explains to Dragon like, we're not doing anything illegal, we just have nowhere to live because we're freaks, like we can't get an apartment, like no one will rent to us, and we're kids and we don't like have anything. And so he gets them a job on the police force. That's how the whole Freak Force spinoff started.
Yes, I did know that. And then they ended up quitting, or were they fired?
Very quickly they quit. Yeah.
They were like, enough of you. Oh, you know what, Andrew? Actually, my next recommendation is going to be for you personally. If you're going to watch any more of these, I feel like you should watch the second 11. So the final 2 episodes of the series were like really good. I actually enjoyed both of them very much. The second to last one is called Bride. Wedding bells ring for Arachnid when Open Face and Octopus engineer a bride for the gluttonous monster, but she may be more menace than her groom is. They do like a whole young Frankenstein, like he dropped the wrong brain and then they put the new one in, and it was like, who is this? And I forget what they said, but it was like that whole Abby Normal thing.
Oh my god, I love
it's hilarious.
So
yeah, it's
Open
great.
Face and Octopus.
But like also you do end up feeling like a little bad because like all Arachnid wants is like someone to love him, and it gets fucked up. Like you like sit there for a minute, you're like, oh buddy, if you
I didn't
weren't
even know
eating
they brought
people.
Arachnid back. That's the thing they do in Savage Dragon. Apparently, a lot of these characters came back in the comics. Like they were more than just one-hit wonders.
Yeah.
But like the way it looks like it looked like Arachnid died in the first appearance, and that's all I ever read of him. So I thought it was like a character, like a one-off. You know what I mean?
How was
And he
their
showed up
fight in the comics?
I was laughing.
Did you see the first Arachnid? Yeah,
I saw him he was in like the background of a Vicious Circle, I think, at some point.
Oh, like when they showed them off. Yeah.
Saw the animation in the beginning.
I have to admit, out of all the villains, he might be my favorite.
No, he's the worst.
Arachnid.
So many great villains. Arachnid sucks.
Oh, they all suck, bro. I mean,
are you kidding?
The way they treat
you don't like them
in the show, the way they treat the Vicious Circle is just.
Fair enough.
Yeah, nah, I haven't read the comics, but in the show, they're all just pretty terrible. All of them. Low blow, fucking. Although actually, no, that's not true because both of us like Open Face and Octopus, so they're the stars so far.
The big and Mako. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah, obviously Mako.
How can you not like Mako? Giant Shark Man. Done. You know what I mean?
Overlord.
Oh, easy.
Is like definitely a letdown.
He's all right. He's exactly what you want him to be.
I never feared for him. I never was like, oh man, he's about to fuck shit up.
I actually do like the voice though.
Oh yeah,
exactly what I expect it to be in like the best way possible.
You know, the voice acting in the show, man, it just, like I said, carries the whole thing.
Yeah. But the biggest compliment I could ever give Erik Larsen is that he is definitely good at creating characters. Like they just
a man whose face opens up.
Yeah.
Open face.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Like it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be complicated for it to be good. And, Spider-Man's got spider powers. Done. You know what I mean? Like all of them can be done that way. Shark Man, giant shark dude, done. What are we gonna call him? Shark.
I feel like that's what my dad used to do with I've told you this before, when he gave me the thing and he was like, yeah, this is Rock Man, and then he gave me a toy of the Rhino, and he's like, and this is Rhino Man. He gave me, I had a toy of a Kamen Rider who was like a Japanese like Super Sentai type thing. And for the longest time I called him Bugman, and I kept like typing online being like, Bugman, like I can't find this dude for the fucking life of me.
You find like Ambush Bug from DC.
Yeah. Okay, and my very final episode is the final episode of the entire series, as it should be. Dragon Lord. It's when it's like, I don't know if they knew that their time was up, but they kind of tried to like throw it all into this, but still kind of leave it up for like debate, if you will. But like they really kind of tie everything together. I do want to go into the change after Studio B took over. Okay. you can
we'll
see
talk
it.
About some porn, and then we'll wrap up.
Yes. Oh yeah, well I mean the porn's definitely coming. I get it. CUMM. So after the change in animation, you can see it gets better, and for some reason they did whitewash Alex in the first season, even made her like a redhead with like that short fucking weird like auntie hair.
Very strange.
And they do make her like their attempt at making her tanner, like more like her Spanish background.
And this is an accusation that I'm going to hurl directly at Erik Larsen. I 100% believe that he intended her to be a black character based on how she is drawn in the first several issues, and then all of a sudden just sidesteps and goes, "No, I have this cool idea for her to be Mexican," and then just decides that she's Mexican and starts coloring her in a lot lighter.
Oh, just as time went on.
Yeah, the first issues she's much darker.
So they change Alex, and you one thing that TV shows do is like they like outsource to other companies to make the theme song look as like as fucking crazy and intense as possible. Like if you watch the season 2 Savage Dragon opening, when like he ends up he jumps from a building on a motorcycle and like sends the motorcycle into the building where the villains are in, but then he crashes through like a different area and like shows up and knocks him out. The animation is so fucking good. I'm like, where is that show? Like that is the dragon I want to watch. Like that looks crazy. Like after watching a good chunk of the Deke series, and then you watch the animation on this, it was like pretty good. Because that's what happened to me. I had been watching like all the Deke shows with Tony for this for the flashback cartoon hour. So when me and you had decided to do this episode, and I was like, all right, let me start watching, and like it started playing, and I went like, oh my god, this is so refreshing. Because Deke is just that bad now. And I know I had given those shows C's in the past. They might need to be done down to a D, and I have Dragon sitting pretty at C.
I have Dragon at a D, so I'd put the Deke shows at an F.
Yeah.
Personally, I've never seen anything as cheesy and bad as those Deke animated shows from the back in the day.
Oh,
those
are Captain Planet, bro.
It's cartoons.
Yeah. It's
they did Captain Planet.
Yeah.
Did they put more effort into it? Like I don't understand. I don't hate Captain Planet, but all those other ones are bad.
Yeah. I thought some of them were pretty good. They did a few that the Deke has some big, like Deke had a Ninja Turtles. Not Ninja Turtles. No, not Ninja Turtles. Sorry. Deke had a Wizard of Oz cartoon that they did that back in the day I thought was like pretty awesome. But all right, why don't we end the episode with some porn talk?
Thank you. I thought you were to say, why don't we end the episode? And I was like, wait, we have to at least mention
it. No, we don't. All right.
We really do. It's so impossible not to. It makes me feel bad for liking Savage Dragon. I have to be like, no, wait. I like a chunk of it.
All right, ready? And I'm gonna pass the torch off to Andrew for this a new segment we're gonna do called Porn Talk.
Great. I'm so proud to be the host of Porn Talk.
Porn Talk Soapbox.
So Erik Larsen in general, even before Savage Dragon, and it's not 100% his fault because the comics industry throughout the late 80s into the 90s was getting worse and worse and worse with its just outward horniness. And Erik Larsen was one of the worst at it, or you might say the best at it, I guess. Legitimately every page was just filled with boobies and nipples and like huge cleavages and boob windows,
vagina. Like, dude,
the term you came up with the other day, or apparently it's a thing. But
the boob window. Yeah. So listeners,
Power Girl.
Yeah, I had to introduce Andrew into the term boob window.
That is such a horrible term to exist, but a necessary term in comic books, unfortunately, because there's a lot of them. There are a lot of boob windows.
Which is funny because with how like rated R the comics are, like we said, like just tits out, the fucking. We watched we were reading that one thing that had him come so hard that the Asian girl shot across the room.
Well, all right, let's not get into that just yet. I just walked away. Let's not get let's not get into that that
just
far
yet.
into it just yet.
Okay, all right.
I want to
go,
lay
you
the
go.
groundwork for what goes into that.
Well,
Because like even when Eric was working for Marvel, like he had some racy shit. Like
yeah,
there's an issue where it's an Amazing Spider-Man issue that's part of Larson's run. Can you give me 2 seconds to look for it? It's right here.
I'd like.
I have almost every issue of his Amazing Spider-Man run. Erik Larsen's. I love his stuff. He is my favorite Spider-Man artist, which is so sad because he is really a complete fucking pervert. Can you see this issue here?
No, put it closer.
Female Trouble. Here, I'll send you a picture of it.
Yeah.
It's called Female Trouble. That's the
Okay.
title of the issue. And there are 6, I believe, or there's 4 on the cover, but I think there's more of them. Female supervillains that all come after Spider-Man, and they are just so offensively drawn. It's not even funny.
That was the best of the 90s, though. I don't give a fuck. It's like, you
I
go
love
look,
boobs.
dude. As a kid, when you're reading them, like, tell me that like you didn't see Wonder Woman back in the 90s,
I didn't
just
read
like
as young as you did.
fucking. They were like, but they were ripped too, and you were like, damn, we're like
Yeah, I didn't read the
bodybuilding women.
comics as young as you did.
Yeah. As a kid, that was like
excited.
exactly what I wanted to read. I wanted to read like things that had big boobs, near naked women, blood, like explosions, lasers, like pirates. You know what I mean? Like I just wanted like punching.
So on this cover, I'm only counting one nipple.
Oh.
But the breasts are like 5 feet apart on every one of these women. Just like everything about it is just awful. Like he was one of the worst at it, to be totally honest with you. Like like one of the most prolifically like I'm gonna draw ladies being sexy.
Yeah,
just
like who do we say drew the X-Force?
Rob Liefeld.
But yeah, Rob Liefeld, he's really good at drawing the like think of like the Jean Grey of that era in like Invisible Woman and how she was drawn at that era.
I don't see
like they always had muscle tone to them. Like it wasn't just a skinny leg, it was like a chick that had the muscle.
Overtly sexual overtones in his stuff as I do in Erik Larsen. Even in Todd McFarlane's work, like there's not nearly as much like hypersexuality as there is in Larsen's work. It's just very present when you're looking at it. But you know, good thing about comics, sometimes there's not a lot of female characters. So you don't have to worry about Eric drawing weird, creepy girls if you just read the Marvel books, because there's no girls anyway.
I mean, Marvel, I would say, has a ton of girls.
I know, but like even you can very easily write an entire comic book and not have a single female, especially in Spider-Man. I mean, all of his villains
other than Mary Jane, I guess.
Yeah, and all of his villains are guys, and like all of his friends are guys, all of like everything. They're all white most of the time. Because you know, it was a comic book from 1960s. That's how it all started. Bunch of white men drawing stories about other white men, filling it in.
I guess.
You know, it doesn't always come from the nicest places, but it's what we do with it, I guess.
Yeah.
And Erik Larsen, I love his work. I love looking at his stuff. The stuff that isn't offensive.
It's just weird that it got so porny, and it's like if we bringing it back, like I was saying that he like if this show was made today, and I hope that eventually they do try and remake it. I know that other podcasts said Amazon would do a really good Savage Dragon series because they did Invincible really well, but you know, HBO did Spawn, and I think that HBO, especially with what they've done with like Harley Quinn and stuff, I think that they could really do a good I think they could do that series really well. Like if you wanted to keep it in a form of somewhat comedy,
I think you'd have to play into the horniness and mention it constantly, like have it be a huge part of the show, but have it
Yeah.
funny part of the show. Like
Yeah,
have it
like
driving part of the comedy. You know what I mean?
yeah, because like that's
Um,
what they do with in Harley Quinn. Like, you know, her and Poison Ivy are like they have like this big like will they won't they, and then eventually they fuck, and like Harley Quinn, like they don't show them like fucking, you know what I'm saying,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like Harley Quinn will show up and be like, we're fucking tonight we're gonna fuck, and Poison Ivy's like, you stop it right now, you side dog, come here.
Fair enough. I haven't seen this. That's the new animated Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn has been on HBO Max for a couple of seasons now. It's honestly hilarious. You personally, bro, you'll love. I want to hear you call me back when you finally do watch it. Why maybe watch one tonight.
Okay, it's 11 o'clock, but maybe.
All right. Well, you know what I mean. You're gonna love the characters, King Shark, and you're gonna love Clayface. I guarantee it.
Yeah,
And you
Clayface
might
is
like,
cool.
and you might like the plant. What's his name? Frank.
Frank.
Yeah.
I like Frank.
Yeah, dude. You're gonna love it. Harley Quinn is gonna be so far up your alley that you're gonna just love it.
Fair enough, man.
But yeah, my whole point was I think Savage Dragon could tastefully be done, like you said, lean into that like horniness that the show that the comics have, but like also don't need to show a chick get fucking cummed in so hard that she flies across the room, lands upside down, and then like has more cum dripping from her vagina into her face.
Yes, he's describing actually panel for panel. He's not just being gross. He is describing panel for panel an actual like page of a
like
sound.
that's too much.
Disgusting. Disgusting.
I don't need to know, and it's not even the original Dragon. It's Dragon Junior, and you're like, I just don't need to know that he fucks that hard. Like we get it, he fucks.
For issue 200, they apparently did the 4-way that you were telling me about.
Yes,
that was
yes.
With one of the characters in that was supposed to be like his like stepsister that he grew up with too. Did you know that?
No.
It's like straight up stepsister porn. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I don't understand it. So like, I don't know when he made the switch. Apparently, issue 20, which must have been like what 95. Like it must have been before the show started. They had this
the
like
show was 95.
Yeah, the issue 20. So what's I have issue 12 right here as the reference. I'll grab that. What's the date on it? It was number 10, but either way.
There was one that I saw, one issue that literally shows what's his girlfriend's name? What's his wife's name? Dragon's wife. Who's he marry?
Rapture.
I'm pretty sure she's standing there and like she's spitting out like a ton of dragon babies.
Like literally spitting them out of her mouth?
Yeah, no, out of her vagina. Like she's like
okay.
gave like they're flying out of there. You don't see her vagina, but like you see from the back, and like they're all hanging. It's weird. I'm gonna have to send you that one.
Please don't. Yeah, so this one, if they came out monthly, this was May 1994 and it was issue 10. So add 10 months to that. That's right around the time this show was coming out. The first beginnings of this show. He was just getting into drawing porn in his comics. While releasing a kids television show.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? That's fine.
That's why this topic is so absolutely ridiculous. And just
it needs to be brought up.
The tiny little caveat of the fact that you were talking about that company that did the season 2 intro.
Yeah.
They spent a whole bunch of money to make it look really awesome and really nice.
Yeah.
I forget what we said the name of the company was, but
Studio B was the one who took over.
Studio B.
Yeah, for the whole series.
Yeah, but it wasn't just because they took over for the series, but there was a third company I thought that did the intro because it was an anime company. It was a Japanese.
Oh yeah. No, for sure. You can tell right away that they outsourced that to Japan. Yeah. Way different. Which is it's like because
it's a ripoff. I hate it.
It's so stupid, dude. And a lot of them do it. They like shows that was like a huge staple of the 80s and 90s was they were like, we're gonna like source this so that like the Thundercats look fucking phenomenal. And then once the show gets going, you're like, what the hell is this? Where was
It's
that
the
anime?
same as like having the cover look so much cooler than the inside art and like all sorts of shit like that.
Which
You know what I mean?
also happens all the
All the
time.
time. I hate when it promises you something's gonna happen inside
Mhm.
on the front cover, and then like they switch it to something stupid, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
come on, you're an ass.
Or they'll like have two characters. They'll be like, yeah, and this guy is gonna be in this issue, and then he's like in it for like a panel.
Yeah,
You're like,
that's
well,
yeah,
what the?
for
Why
real.
would you hype it up that much?
Yeah, so that you'll buy next issue too, because now you're already one in the hole.
You're
So
like,
you
oh
feel
yeah, now
have
he's gonna
to.
be there, right? Yeah, exactly.
So
Like I
stupid.
wanted
He's in
their
the
team
next
up
one
to
for
be
one
this
panel.
one.
He's
Yeah.
gone.
He's like, hey,
Um,
remember yesterday when I walked up here? All right, well,
bye
bye.
now. Yeah, but that company apparently the one that does the intro for season 2 was like the first company to make one of the first like commercially available hentai films.
Mhm.
It's like everything that's adjacent to Savage Dragon is
Is
pornographic.
horny.
Apparently.
Yeah,
So
there's if you're getting anything from this an underlining theme of this show is horniness.
yes, if you're not hard right now, there's a problem.
Yeah, even the women, if you're not hard, like something's wrong. You should have grown a dick and just been hard.
Nick, no women listen to this show. We're trying to look out for all of the ridiculously overly sexualized stuff and not pay too much attention to it. Push it aside while we look at the better stuff.
It was so funny because this whole time I went into this episode being like, wow, the thing I hated the most about this show is that like
It
it's
wasn't horny enough.
it's so kiddified, like fuck. And now that we talk about it, I'm like, well, maybe it needed to be kiddified. Maybe like
thank
there
you
was
for the
no way they
kiddification.
could have made the show unless they were like, nope, we just got to go all the way down to kids, like teenagers. It's still gonna be too horny.
Yeah, for real. It's a weird comic, for real.
And it's a weird show.
Yeah. Both good though. Good enough at least.
Good enough. And that's the
That's
main
how I
thing.
feel about a Savage Dragon comic book. It's like it's exactly what you expected it to be.
I guess the same could be said about the cartoon. It's exactly
for real.
what
You get out of
expect.
it exactly what you think you are
You're
going
like,
to get.
yeah. So
This will
that's
be
it.
alright.
That's
But it's
it,
alright.
ladies and gentlemen. It was that. If you want to give it a shot, the series is on Peacock. So check that out. We got more episodes coming for you guys. We got a big one. It's going to be our first two-parter. Andrew is now back, and we're going to bring him in for more shows. I just wanted to say Andrew took a little leave recently because he both got married and had a baby. So
I'm busy.
so proud of you, buddy. Glad to have you back.
Glad to be back.
Thank you guys so much. And remember the 3 golden rules: fight pollution, save the planet, and be good to yourself.
Be good to yourself. Oh my God, that's literally it. Everything that's adjacent to Savage Dragon is pornographic.
Horny. Yeah.
So
If you're getting anything from this, an underlining theme of this show is horniness.
yes, if you're not hard right now, there's a problem.
Yeah, even the women, if you're not hard, like something's wrong. You should have grown a dick and just been hard.